Tonight you will probably be alone at some point, maybe for an hour, maybe longer, and your brain will treat that like a threat. Not a mild inconvenience, not a small discomfort, a threat. The same category as a predator. The same alarm that once kept your ancestors alive. That is what loneliness actually is. And once you understand what is happening inside your body when you feel it, the experience will never feel the same again. Your brain does not distinguish clearly between physical pain and social pain. Neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran a study where participants were placed in a brain scanner and asked to play a simple ball-tossing video game with two other players. At some point, the other players stopped throwing the ball back. They just cut the participant out. No explanation, no confrontation, just exclusion. The brain scans showed activation in the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. That is the same region that lights up when you feel physical pain. Being left out of a video game with people you had never met activated the same neural circuitry as touching something hot. Your brain processed social rejection the same way it processes a burn. Why would evolution do that to you? Because for 99% of human history, being alone meant dying. You were not built for solitude. You were built for a group of roughly 150 people who depended on you and on whom you depended completely. If that group cast you out, you did not survive the winter. You did not survive the night in many cases. There were no individual apartments, no delivery services, no way to live independently without a tribe. So your brain wired social exclusion as a survival emergency. And that wiring is still running inside you, unchanged, responding to modern life as if every moment of disconnection is a life or death signal. John Cacioppo spent decades studying this. He was a social neuroscientist at the University of Chicago, and his findings were startling enough that they still reshape how researchers think about human health. Loneliness, Cacioppo showed, does not just feel bad. It physically damages the body. Chronically lonely people show elevated levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone. Their immune systems show signs of chronic low-grade inflammation. Their cardiovascular systems age faster. He found that loneliness was as damaging to long-term health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 15 cigarettes. Most people worry obsessively about diet, exercise, sleep. The research on loneliness suggests that the quality of your social connections may matter just as much as any of those. But nobody talks about it the way they talk about running a half marathon or cutting out sugar. Here is the deeper strangeness. Loneliness is not just about being physically alone. You can be in a room full of people and feel profoundly lonely. You can be in a long-term relationship and feel completely unseen. The brain is not measuring bodies in proximity. It is measuring something far more subtle. It is asking, does anyone here actually know me? Does anyone here actually need me? Do I belong? That distinction matters because it explains a particular modern epidemic. In surveys across the developed world, reported loneliness has been rising steadily for decades, even as cities have grown more crowded, even as communication technology has connected more people than ever before in history. More connection on the surface, more loneliness underneath. Julianne Holt-Lunstad, a researcher at Brigham Young University, analyzed data from over 3 million people across 148 studies. Her conclusion was stark. Social isolation increases the risk of premature death by 26%. Loneliness increases it by 26% as well. Living alone increases it by 32%. These numbers place social disconnection in the same risk tier as obesity. Your body is keeping score of your relationships, whether you are aware of it or not. Now here is something your ancestors knew intuitively that modern culture has almost completely forgotten. Loneliness is not a personal failure. It is a biological signal, the same way hunger is a signal. Hunger does not mean you are weak or broken. It means your body is telling you it needs fuel. Loneliness means your nervous system is telling you it needs connection. It is a prompt, not a verdict. But modern culture has treated loneliness as something shameful, something to conceal, something that implies you are unworthy or unlikable. And that shame makes the signal worse. It makes it harder to act on. Because when you are lonely and ashamed of being lonely, you withdraw further. You protect yourself from potential rejection by avoiding the very interactions that could resolve the signal. Cacioppo described this as the loneliness loop. The lonely brain becomes hypervigilant to social threat. It starts reading ambiguous situations as hostile. A friend who takes 2 hours to reply becomes someone who is pulling away. A neutral facial expression becomes a sign of disapproval. The brain, running an ancient threat detection program designed for a world of small groups and constant social negotiation, starts generating false positives everywhere. And those false positives push you toward more isolation, which deepens the loneliness, which sharpens the threat detection, which generates more false positives. It is a loop that can run for years. The interesting part is that the fix is not simply adding more people. Research suggests the key variable is not quantity of social contact, but perceived quality. Even one relationship in which you feel genuinely known, genuinely valued, significantly buffers the physiological damage of loneliness. One relationship, not 50 followers, not a packed social calendar. One person who actually sees you. There is a reason that across almost every culture in human history, isolation was used as the most severe form of punishment. Solitary confinement was not invented as a modern cruelty, it was discovered. Humans observed early that removing a person from their group was one of the most devastating things you could do to them. That observation is encoded in every prison system on Earth. It is also encoded in your nervous system right now. Think about the last time you felt genuinely lonely. Not just bored, not just tired, actually lonely. That hollow, pressurized feeling somewhere in your chest. Your ancestors would have recognized that feeling immediately. They would have acted on it. They would have moved toward the fire, toward the voices, toward the group, because their survival depended on it. Your survival depends on it too. The research says so. The neuroscience says so. The ancient wiring in your brain has been saying so every time that signal fires. The feeling is not weakness. The feeling is wisdom. Loneliness is your body telling you the most important thing it knows how to say. You were not built to do this alone. And somewhere in you, at the level below language, you already knew that. You felt it the last time you sat in a room full of people and still felt completely invisible. You felt it the last time a notification arrived from someone and, for just a moment, the pressure in your chest eased slightly. That ease is not psychological. That is biology. That is the oldest signal in your system finally, briefly, going quiet. Tonight, when that feeling arrives, you will know exactly what your brain is doing. It is running the same program it ran for every human being who lived before you. The same program that kept them alive long enough to pass their genes forward. The same program that brought you into existence. The signal has not changed. Only the world around it has.